Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, beginners. Welcome to the first episode of my Draw With Me series where I'll be going through a bunch of different things a beginner artist might need to learn. You are going to have to bear with me as this is the first episode, so we're going to be going through all those technical errors and stuff. My name is Yanagi, and let's just get started. I won't keep you waiting. Long intros are annoying. Now, I'm not going to be using any of my digital tools for this video. I know that a lot of you might be stuck on just a basic sketchbook, pen and paper type situation. So I'm going to work as if I don't have any of my digital tools. And we're going to start pretty basic with a circle. As you can see, I messed up a little bit here. That's fine. We're gonna just erase a little bit of that. It's not that important, but it looks nice. And, normally I would tell you the guideline you would need to continue forward, but unfortunately for me, I have completely forgotten all the facial guidelines I used to use as a beginner. And I can only describe to you the structure of the face. Now, when you're working with the face, the sides, you're gonna start with the circle head and work on the jaw, which you're gonna draw from extending from the sides of the head, a just straight slanted line like that. Straight slanted line. And then from there, you might make it a little bit too long. Now, the longer you make the face, the older they might seem. So if you're drawing a child, you're going to want to shorten the face, but since this is just a generic head drawing, you want it to be a pretty average length. I know that as a beginner, I tended to make my faces too long, so don't worry so much about it. Here, I think I might have made the face a little too long. So I'm going to cut off the edges just a little bit. And from these corners that we made, just to help you visualize, we're going to draw a little point here. And we're going to connect with another slanted line those two sides of the face. Like that. There you go. You have a chin. And now we want to move on to the ears. And I tend to, if you see where your circle is, it connects to the jaw about here, I tend to draw a little bit proportions kind of like this, where I start from here, slant it a little bit, and curve my way back down to here. And now let's do the same on the other side. Make sure that these line up and are even. Small differences between size probably won't be noticed, so don't worry about them. And you can erase those guidelines or leave them there. And as we move on, I realize that I did in fact draw one ear lower than the other, but we're going to move on. We're going to work on the inner ear, which you just want to draw a small curve and a bit of a slant. Small curve, slant. You can add, if you have room, another little line here. And, that's all you really need. You can get more detailed with it if you want. But for now, that's all you really need. And the eye tends to be around midpoint of the ear. So for the eye, we're gonna do just a pretty basic neutral eye. There's tons of things you can do with the eye depending on the personality of the character, but we're gonna do a curved line And I tend to have more of a jagged art style, so we're gonna bring it down again. We can do it more rounded like that, or you can rough it out, which I tend to do. So I tend to do something like this, but less extreme, or you can just do a straight curve. Straight curves tend to make more bubbly-eyed characters if you do something like this, which is why I tend to make it a little more jagged. You can add a little line like this to close it in. And one more line right here, slightly curved. Then, in the interior of the eye, you're going to want to draw, connecting from the top here, a circle. And inside there, you can draw another circle and a highlight. There you go. You can add a little eyelid if you want to. Don't have to, but you can. Draw the nose smack dab in the middle. And you're going to just want to repeat that process on this side. You're going to want to leave some room between your eyes. I drew mine a little bit too inward, I feel. Just repeat that process here. It can help to draw a marker. Alright. Draw that circle. Helps to be slow. Another circle. Oh, now right there, I just did a mistake that a lot of beginner artists do, where they draw the highlight on two different sides. Now, this is inaccurate because this means that there's two different light sources. So say your light source is right here, then the eye highlight should be on this side of the eye, right? But if you have one right here and one right here, that means you have two light sources. And not only is that usually not the case, but I find that it tends to make your characters look cross-eyed. So make sure you draw the eye highlights on the same side. In this case, I'm doing the left side. And little eyelid. There we go. You can erase your guidelines. You no longer need them. And just above your eyes, wherever feels fit, don't draw them too high up. If you need, you can draw a little line for your bangs. That's too low. A little line for your bangs so you know where they are. And draw your eyebrows. Pretty simple. You can do something simple like that. Or if you want to get fancy, you can do thicker. Like that. Right? I tend to just do thin little eyebrows like this. And a smile, which smiles tend to be around here, right? And this is you kind of have an equal space between here. I guess this is a little bit longer, but kind of around the midpoint area here. And so I'll just draw a little line, basic line. But I like to make the corners of my smile a little bit big. And then come in. Big. And then come in. Oh, oopsies. And now they have a big grin. Alright. You have a pretty basic head here. Right? Then you can draw your neck, which be careful not to make your neck too wide. This works for some characters, more masculine, muscular characters. But it's for a specific body type. Most of the times, try to draw your necks not too thick. Just on the side there. Alright. You can, whoopsies. erase this circle. I recommend you keep this little circle here till the end, because that little circle guideline helps out a ton with placement. In my opinion, it's mainly how in my time as an artist, without using guidelines, I would um, draw my face. And if you want, you can do a little neckline. You have, you know, if you have the shoulders, which you can add in with just slanted line, then you can have a little bit of a body, little neck there, and you've got your head and bonus shoulders too. So that's it. Pretty easy. But that is just a front-facing head. Now, you can stick with this as a beginner myself. This was all I learned. I did not learn any other head. I learned one perspective. One perspective is all you need. Don't even worry about learning other perspectives. But if you feel maybe you've practiced this one enough and you want to move on to a different perspective, another easy one is the 3/4 view. And I like the 3/4 view because it's easier to explain the anatomy of the head in 3/4 view. So flip to another page. In my case, I will just turn this layer off. And we're going to start with another circle. Oh, another circle, right? I messed this one up a little bit. It's a little bit ovular. Right? Here we go. So, 3/4 view. So what does that mean? You are now facing slightly this way. So instead of if you were to draw the cross, which a lot of tutorials use, oh, hold on. So now, if you were to draw a cross for front-facing view, this is what you would have, right? But not in the case of side view. I'd say if you had your nose placement in the middle of your line, it would be more around here, right? This is more around where your cross would be. So using that as our guideline, I'm going to draw, you want to know where the side of the head is for this. So I'm going to draw a circle. That is the side of your head. And we're going to move on to the jaw, which for this is a little bit different because we're not going to connect to the full circle. So before you begin drawing, especially if you have a pen, watch what I do because it's not going to be the same. We're going to start out with a nice straight line, curve down like we did before. And we're not going to do things evenly this time. So first of all, we're not even going to go right here. We're not going to start from here. We're going to start from here at the end, or at the edge of the side here. We're going to draw down, and then we're going to connect with another slanted line. And there you go. Now we can end here because you have the main head now. But if you want to erase a little bit from here, you can do a divot for the eye. And now here I realize that the cheek is a little bit facing outwards. I would move the cheek in a little bit, unless you want your cheek to bump out. But typically I like to keep it a little bit flat because it makes the character's face look a little bit chubby to have the cheek bump out. And we're going to draw this back. Now the circle guideline is not as useful. So we can erase this and work on our eye. Now this guideline is a bit thick, so I'm going to redraw this guideline, but in less opacity so you can see better what I'm doing. So that was right here. Whoopsies. So you have that. And you're gonna draw your nose. You can add, see how the face, oh, oopsies. See how the face is curved this way? Not that much, but it is curved right here. So you're gonna draw kind of a curve for the nose, another curve, and then boom. You have your nose. It's sticking out now. And you have your eye is also not facing the same way. So you have a small curve like this, smaller than last time. They're not even anymore. And then this one comes down. Bring this in. Whoopsies. Now, that was technically correct, but a different style from the one I taught you previously. It is smaller, which is okay if you want to do something smaller. But to stay consistent, I'm going to make the eye a bit bigger. And we're going to do the same thing here, which you might have troubles here with your proportions. Try not to have the eye touch the face. You're going to have a difficult time here, but bring it closer to the nose if you're having troubles. Hey, Editing Yanagi here. So I just wanted to point out a mistake I made previously. When you are having troubles with the eye positioning, what I said was not technically wrong. Um, the problem could be that you need to bring the eye closer to the nose. However, sometimes the problem is that actually the eye on the other side of the nose, closer towards the side of the head, needs to be moved outwards more towards the side of the head, rather than the other one in. Normally, when you move that eye, you make it a little bit bigger, and um, and you move the nose as well. I actually should have done that in this art piece because I was having some proportion issues, but I didn't, and I just needed to make you guys aware. Happy drawing. Back to the video. Because the nose will sometimes, depending on how extreme you draw the tilt, cover. Obviously, in this case, it doesn't, but sometimes it will cover up the eye a little bit. So if it's touching the edge of the face, move it closer to the nose is my recommendation. I used to have this problem a lot as a beginner, where my eye would touch the face, the edge of the face. Don't do that. Now, here we can draw our mouth, which again is kind of at like a halfway point right here. And we can do just like a little smile like that. That's all we need. If we want to mimic what we did before, there's kind of like a weird curve here for the face, right? You see that there's like a triangle curve, right? So when we draw a smile, it's going to curve too. And to help you, there is a side of the face here. There is a side here. As you can see, this can be a helpful guideline if you're struggling. This is the side of your face. No eye, no mouth, no nothing should be here. There should be room for this here. And then it can help also. Here, I'll draw a line out for you. Here, there's a curve, and then it bumps out again for the cheek, and then it follows the chin, right? That is how your face is structured. There's a lot of bumps and divots, which is why, like I said, the 3/4 view is a lot better for learning accurate anatomy. So just keep that in mind when drawing everything. We can, I forgot to draw our little irises. Boop. Oh. Oh. She's looking the wrong way. If I can only position myself. Whoa, this is hard. It's tiny. It's very tiny, so it is harder. There's not really room for a highlight here, which is okay. And then our ear just connects right here. Oh. All right. Right here, same spot as before. You know, kind of where the eye is. If you erase everything else, don't forget your eyebrow is kind of going to be on that, like, you see this line right here where your face kind of curves? That's kind of where your eyebrow is. Right? So that's kind of where your eyebrow is going to be. This is much harder if you are a beginner. This is more for to help you practically understand the planes of the face. Because chances are you will struggle with this unless you want to challenge. Erase all these. Make room for the ear so we can draw its innards. Boop, boop, boop. Right. And the neck, which we just attach. We attach the neck starting from the back of the head. So right here, back of the head. And then around here, don't attach it from like over here. Be careful not to make it too wide. That's weird, right? That looks off. Start from around here. Obviously, the more you move it forward, the more thick it's going to be. So, got a nice size. And if you want to do what we did before with the front-facing head, you just do a line here, and it's like this. Right. That's how you do it. Whoopsies. So, there you go. That's your head. You got 3/4. 3/4. And front. Right? So, congratulations. You just learned to draw a head. Bye!